Hello, hello. Welcome to the World Stage Americas and to the Fintech South. So I am Rodrigo Dantas. I'm principal with UI, currently serving as the Americas payments leader, based out of here in Atlanta. And today, very happy to be the moderator of this amazing panel on the digital transformation of one of the largest banks in the world, actually. So to participate of this discussion, this amazing conversation here with me, we have two great executives. So we have Cesar gone. Cesar is an entrepreneur in the technology digital space. At the age of 23, he founded CI&T, a pioneer digital service company to help large enterprises make shifts at scale. Under his leadership as CEO, the company has achieved 25 years of consecutive growth and global expansion. Gon is a computer engineer with master's degree in computer science. Last year, 2019, he was also awarded EY Entrepreneur of the Year in Brazil. Congrats, Gon. And for those that are entrepreneurs yourselves in the audience, he is also an active investor. So we have a shark here on the panel as well. You can tag him after. So Gon, thank you. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Rodrigo. My pleasure to be here.
All right. And to have this conversation with Gon and I, we also have Ricardo Guerra. So Ricardo is the CIO of Itaú Unibanco. For 27 years in the organization, the executive is responsible for the entire technology platform, software development, and technology operation, as well as the adoption of new technologies and digital transformation initiatives. Before becoming the CIO, he was director of digital channels from 2008 to 2014. And he was also working in several areas such as credit risk and financial products. Ricardo graduated as civil engineer at Escola Politécnica of University of São Paulo and business administration at the business school of the same University of São Paulo. Great school, by the way. He obtained his MBA in 2002 from Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, another great school, by the way. So Ricardo, thank you and welcome to our panel. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's get started. I'll start with you, Cesar. Why don't you introduce a little bit of CI&T and how this plays into what you do?
Sure. Well, CI&T is a tech company, as I mentioned, is a tech service company founded 25 years ago in Brazil. Now we are operating in 8 countries and work with some of the largest companies in the world across several industries. CI&T is positioned as an end-to-end partner for digital transformation. We have a global team of more than 3,000 professionals, meaning strategy, design, software engineering, and data science. The US is our largest and fastest growing market, where we have 9 offices, including San Francisco, Atlanta, Chicago, New York City. But we also have operations in Canada, UK, Portugal, Japan, China, and Australia.
Truly global.
Well, metaphorically, our job to be done is to accelerate our clients' inevitable journey on being translated from the industrial century to the digital century. And this transformation is a non-trivial combination of course, technology, a lot of technology, but also leadership model. We can talk more about this during this panel.
Fantastic. Great, impressive global organization already. Amazing. Congratulations. Guerra, talk to us a little bit about Itaú. Let the audience understand better this bank. I mean, that besides had been my first job. So I started my career at Banco Itaú many years ago. We don't want to go there. But yeah, so tell us about your bank and give us an idea of how complexity and the size of it.
Sure. So it's a large bank, one of the largest in the world. We are actually 95 years old, so it's a very old company, traditional company that's trying to do our own transformation around technology and digital. Just to give a sense of the size of the bank, we have these days something around 56 million customers. Which is pretty much a quarter of the population in the country, right? In
Say it again, how many?
56 million active customers. We are pretty much a Latin America bank. We have operations everywhere, but the main operations are in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And we have offices in the US, London, Portugal, and other places. The size of our footprint is also large due to the size of the country, of course. We have something around 45,000 ATMs, something around 4,000 branches, and declining, right? We are becoming digital. So among the largest banks, we are one of the ones that has fewer branches, although 4,000 branches is a lot, right? But we are definitely shrinking that footprint. It's harder to talk about money figures just because the exchange rate is so crazy these days. But just to give an idea, we have something around 400 million in assets, dollars, which used to be much more before the real had the sort of
400 billion, right?
$400 billion, yes, $400 billion in assets. And the market cap these days is something around $46 to $50 billion. It used to be 100 or something when the exchange rate was better. But again, it depends a lot. Something that is very curious about the bank, before COVID, we were the largest return on equity on the planet. So there was no bank that pay more its shareholders than Itaú before COVID. After COVID, things are a little bit more complicated, of course, for everyone. But it's a bank that is very well managed in terms of costs and revenues. And we're proud of ourselves of paying well back our investors and going through a major transformation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, with all that amazing size and complexity, and but at the same time, that amazing performance, what was the case for change? I mean, when we think about digital transformation, many people say, oh, it's to improve customer experience, or it's to be more effective in cost, or both, or it's something else. So when we talk about the digital transformation of Banco Itaú, what are the elements that you would highlight as the most important, more critical ones?
Sure. That's a very good question, Rodrigo. And we got asked all the time, that kind of question. The world is changing. We're seeing a lot of transformations in all the industries. That's I'm sure the audience is pretty much aware of that. And what we are seeing is that if we don't transform, if we don't follow that path towards digital transformation, we are not going to be the leaders that we are today. We're not going to be paying back our investors the way we do today. And the reason for that is that when we look at the digital transformation anywhere in the world, in any industry, what we are seeing across the board is an empowerment of the customer. The customer is definitely having way better experiences that one could have 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. The experience all increases in terms of getting better and better for anything that you do. And it's not different for finance. We're seeing lots of new companies coming out offering much better products. And we are seeing a shift towards the customer. Everyone is empowering the customer in that sense. And banks have to do the same thing. Banks have to really work to get better services for the customer, honestly get better services, work to get solve customer problems, to definitely have less attrition in everything that pretty much customers do with money. We are a universal bank. We work pretty much in everything. Here in Brazil, banks are insurance companies as well. So we work from current accounts to credit cards, insurance, to large corporations, anything that you can imagine. We have in terms of financial products. And
let me pause you just a minute, just to the benefit of our audience here, and on that description of the bank. So you're saying that you are a retail bank, you are a corporate investment bank, a broker dealer. You have also other diversified financial services businesses as credit cards, insurance, auto finance, and potentially
mortgage, security services, whatever you can imagine.
And the same. Obviously, you have the commercial bank and personal bank, but a client can be a client of everything, right? I mean, respectful.
Can be an SME, can be a large corporation, can be people from any kind of income. In Brazil, that's very broad, right? So we play pretty much in any finance arena, and the challenge just becomes bigger because you have to do that transformation in all customer journeys. So it doesn't matter what kind of product people consume or companies consume, doesn't matter which kind of company or person you are enduring that transformation in terms of behavior, and we have to follow offering better services and products in that sense.
Amazing. And go on. How do you guys play into that?
Sure. I think Ricardo was very clear on the why. I can add a little on the how, or why CI&T was involved.
Right.
To transform a giant like Itaú, Ricardo and his leadership team embraced an approach that is really the result of more than 2 decades where CI&T was facing this kind of cultural challenge. We call this approach the Lean Digital. Lean Digital is a combination of course, the disruption of digital in terms of aggressively using tech, data, design, but with the discipline and the leadership frame of mind of Lean. And we have been applying the same umbrella of methods and practices in different countries and industries with quite solid results. By the way, we just published a book named Faster, The Dawn of Lean Digital, where we present our learnings on creating this approach based on CI&T experience, of course, but also with the learnings of our clients like Itaú, Coca-Cola, and other large companies. By the way, Ricardo is portrayed and is the hero of chapter 4. and we can double click on the Lean Digital later on, but I think this is maybe the conceptually approach we designed together for this huge transformation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does he wears a cap as the hero, or he rides a bike? I can see some bike.
Both.
I ride a bike. No cap.
All right. That's great. So, Ricardo, Guerra, based on what would you say was unique about your digital transformation journey? Or of all those elements that you've mentioned, what pops up to you as so if we hadn't nailed this, or if we hadn't tackled this component the way we did, nothing else would have worked?
That's a very good question again, Rodrigo. I would say that transforming a big company like this, you have to be, in the first place, resilient, because you're going to find a successful company with very smart and successful people that have a way of doing business. And out of the blue, you just have to convince people that they have to do it totally different. So I was speaking to a very good entrepreneur these days, and I've heard something very good from him. He said, to work in a digital company requires you to really understand how business are being done these days. To do a digital transformation is a totally different skill. You have to understand how business is done these days, but you also have to have the skill, the patience, and the resilience to transform other people. So what comes to my mind is you really have to transform the culture of the company around the customer in a way that usually people don't grasp. The profound change that you have to do around the customer is so big that people usually think that, no, I already talked to my customer, I already do my research, and I always ask my customer if they like the products that I'm thinking that I will launch. That's not the point, right? It's about building along with the customer. It's about letting the customer build your products and services for you. So it's a way more radical transformation. And along that mind shift, you really have to have a tech platform that allows speed, that allows quality. Otherwise, the customers will be faster than you. Their needs will change faster than you can deploy new solutions and services. So building speed around technology is key for this new business model. And the last point that I would say is what Cesar here is expert, which is the methodology that you work. If you don't work in a methodology where you really avoid pitfalls, where you really avoid talking about internal problems, where you really eliminate waste and deliver value to the customer by having a lean mindset, where you spend time internally talking about customers' problems And there's different ways of doing this, lean, agile, design thinking, whatever you can imagine. If you don't do this, you're not going to get there either. So so long story short, to your answer, it's a basket. If you don't have all those levers, you may change a lot and you're not going to see results.
So Gon, Guerra just teed up the perfect ball for you in terms of the methodology. I'll definitely want you to explore that a little bit further, but feel free to touch the other components that he mentioned as well, right? The tech platform and the mindset. I think though that combination of the basket, I'd love to hear your perspectives on that as well.
Sure, Roberto. I believe what is unique about this journey, Itaú journey, is not only the seriousness and the depth which they enter in this transformation journey, but how they embrace the idea that we need a methodology, and they embrace lean digital. I like to see this kind of transformation as three major redesigns. I think the first one is the most visible one. It's a radical change in the way you design, you build, and you evolve your digital experience, the way you create your digital products, the platforms, the way you handle data. It's, of course, about squads, agile, DevOps, design thinking, cloud, microservice, everything, this never-ending list of math and technology. But I think there are other two redesigns that are much less visible and maybe much less glorious, but equally important. The second big redesign is about the management system, meaning the way they do planning, budgeting, incentives, reporting, reviewing of activity. It means a management system, a new management system that is focused on connecting the strategy, the digital strategy, and business goals on the daily work of the squads, of the multifunctional team. I think this is the second big thing. And finally, the third redesign, and probably the most difficult one, I think Ricardo just touched that, was to promote a new approach for leadership development, to foster behavioral change on a way that senior management happen at Itaú. To be frank, it's quite impossible to leverage innovation and real agility without not only a platform, a technical platform that allowed that, but without a leadership model that is not the command and control leadership style. So a new leadership model is the concrete foundation for the advent of a new culture. Culture that is more innovative, more fast, that's going to leave the slow by design mode in the past. So I think this is a broad way to see this huge transformation in terms of redesigns.
I love that point from Cesar, Rodrigo, because what big companies fail in digital transformation is exactly that point. It's very easy for a very good leader to say, we're going to change the tech platform, we're going to change the methodology, we're going to work around the customer or something. But it's very hard for the human being to say, I have to change myself. I have to change the way I work. I'll stop taking decisions about what's the next product or service, and I'll call my team to do that every day along with the customer. And I'll just plan budgeting, I'll just plan whatever investment I want to do in my teams, and I'll follow up if they are following on the results they promised, the results that we need to pay back our investors. So by changing yourself, you're in the right way of digital transformation. And that's the hardest part that people always miss, because they feel, especially when you have a very successful company, they feel they can do anything. They feel that they were successful, they will keep succeeding in the future. And digitally, you cannot succeed if you don't change yourself, if you don't change your mind. And that's hard for the human being.
Yeah, that's no easy task for sure, right? For sure. That's a great thing. So we are here in a fintech conference, right? Actually, in one of the most exciting fintech places in the Americas, which is Atlanta, but virtually this time. How does Itaú sees the fintech ecosystem? How did fintechs play it into the transformation that, or are playing? But broadly, how does Itaú sees that? Do you partner? Do you buy? Do you invest? Do you incubate? Do you do all of that? I mean, how's Itaú's relationship with the fintech world?
Good. I'll be very transparent. It's pretty much everything that you described. So the way we think about this transformation is that before digital came up, right? Before all this vibrant environment of entrepreneurship grew in the last few years, we had a much more stable environment, a market where here in Brazil, for instance, we had some large banks that were our main competitors. We're always looking for banks from the US or Europe that were coming to Brazil to try to compete or something. That was the competition environment. In the last few years, 10 to 5 years or something, we saw more and more small companies popping up, right? Trying to deliver better results to the customer, trying to offer better services. We learned that change was much faster than we were used to see. So the first conclusion that we came up with was we have to learn as fast as them, right? How do we insert ourselves into that ecosystem? How can we be part of that ecosystem? So our conclusion for that was 5 years ago when we launched, at the time, what we called a co-working space. We don't call that anymore. We call a network space right now. But that was pretty much a building with space for 50 startups, and was a nonprofit organization that we led. And the idea of this nonprofit organization was to bring all the best entrepreneurs in the country to the same place. The idea was sort of how can we build the same environment that the Silicon Valley has here in São Paulo, right? And we were trying to do that. We were trying to bring investors, universities, startups, big companies, all to the same environment, which 5 years ago was a building, a 5-story building, very small one, again, with the space for 50 startups. And we had just 2 rules for that business. For you to participate on the ecosystem, on that ecosystem, you had to be a very top-notch entrepreneur. We prefer to have empty spaces than having someone that we didn't consider a very good entrepreneur. And the second rule was you have to work for the ecosystem. You got to make sure that you're helping other companies, that the success of everyone is your success as well. And we had the same approach as a participant of the ecosystem. And we learned a lot. And that ecosystem grew very fast. In 2018, we moved to another building. CI&T, by the way, participates in this new one, where we have more than 200 startups. And we have something around 30 large companies as well, CI&T, one of them. Again, we're learning a lot on how to work with this environment and how to benefit from it. How can we transform ourselves constantly? How can we bring new talent, new technology? How can we learn to work in better methodologies to remain competitive? In that sense, learning how to participate and how this ecosystem works, we learned as well that fintechs are sort of everything. We have very important competitors who started as fintechs or still are small companies but are growing. We have very important partners who are fintechs, who provide technology or infrastructure for us to build better products to our customers. We have fintechs that are business partners that build products that we sell, or even fintechs that distribute problems that we produce, right? Products that we produce. So I would say that there's no single rule. Everyone says fintechs are going to disrupt the market or something. Yes, they are disrupting the market because they are bringing a new mindset. They are bringing new ways of doing business. But it's not only fintechs, as I said in the beginning. It's a whole digital transformation in all the industries. And if you don't have your mindset around the customer, if you don't ask yourself, how can I better provide services to the customer, you will always see fintechs as competitors. But there are big opportunities to work along with them to provide better services to your customers. So you have to be intellectually honest to always be seeking better services, products, experiences to your customer, and to understand the entrepreneurship ecosystem and how can you benefit from it, and partner with other companies and build a whole new value chain to deliver faster and better services to your customers.
Let me get that point and ask Gon about it. Hey, Gon, you've seen that not only on Itaú's case, but elsewhere in the world, you have many clients. Do you think that fintech bank partnership can be beneficial to both ends, or how are you seeing that happen in the world?
Sure. Well, first, CI&T is very proud to be part of the Kubus network and ecosystem. It's amazing. It's amazing what's happening there. And I see this new competition and as an opportunity. Of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I tend to see everything as an opportunity. It's my nature. But I think what lies ahead is an acceleration of the digital Darwinism in the business arena. But I think we are just in the beginning of a new era where we are going to migrate from service economy to the ecosystem economy. So it will probably be the interconnect set of services from several players that will allow consumers to fulfill a variety of needs in one integrated experience. So it means a lot that we can really help this ecosystem to co-creation, to really integrate all these dots among large companies and fintechs and other classes of startups. So I believe it's a huge opportunity and for companies with the kind of expertise and footprint as CI&T. And somehow we can be a kind of agnostic piece in this puzzle and help these dots to be connected. So I really think it's a huge opportunity, not only for the incumbents to get from the innovation, from the velocity or the speed of the fintechs, but from the fintechs to leverage the scale and the learn to a company that has regulatory status, has huge customer base, and so on. So I think it can be very well designed, can be co-created, and in terms of customer centricity, it's probably what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. So we are getting on our last 5 minutes. We are going to go until 5 here. And we did get a question from the audience already. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot that for you, Ricardo. For you, Guerra. It's what is the biggest technology hurdle in your transformation?
Well, I would say that when you have such a big platform as the one that we do, right? Our current account system started in 1973. So almost half a century ago, right? It's not the easiest thing to migrate to the cloud. Let's build microservices. Let's break the monolith. Let's leave the mainframe, right? And you can easily get lost in the middle, and we have done that a few times, because you're just running technology from pretty much every single year for the last 50 years. We have something around 10,000 engineers running our platform. And all of a sudden, to have that digital model that I described around the customer, building solutions along with the customer, you have to be able to be as fast as you can. And if you have a platform that is still a monolith, that still runs code written in COBOL mainframe, nothing against the technology, but against the way we used to build code back in the day, right? Where we used to have those million lines of code, where for you to do something on that legacy, it's very linear. You have to have one idea implement, have the other one implement, and the sort of scale up that you can do with services and microservices was not present. How you tackle that is not an easy task. There are many different approaches in different companies. So I would say the biggest hurdle is not to define the strategy, the technology strategy. I think that can be done. And I can tell you, most of the companies are working in the modernization along with delivering value to the customer. So no one stops anymore to say, I'm going to change my core system and I'll be back in 2 years from now. Okay, in 2 years from now, you don't exist anymore, right? So you have to have a methodology where whatever opportunity you're seeing, you're always modernizing your platform, especially because the technology will keep on evolving. You have to learn to transform constantly. It's not getting out of a mainframe and going to the cloud. It's about learning how to transform constantly. So the biggest hurdle is to teach your 10,000 people at scale to have that mindset, to learn that all the business opportunities and customer services that you are building, you have to look at your platform and say, I have to implement in a new technology. I have to move to something that will be more competitive. And I think that there's sort of a shift in the mindset of tech people. It's not the easiest one. If you were born in that environment where you know a technology that has to transform all the time, that you already know a technology that is more up to date, I would say, then it would be easier. But we're talking about a very good skilled people that work at the bank from, I don't know, that we hired just now, last year, 2 years ago, or 30 years ago. And by definition, we usually have good people. We got to make sure that everyone understands that transformation and they're really implementing that modernization in everything that they can, because we really need to speed up everything that we do. So I think the biggest hurdle is around people. It's not around technology. It's how to teach your team that they have to have this mindset so you can really modernize at scale and keep transforming all the time.
All right. Yeah, makes complete sense to me. And you're talking all of the top of the experience. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and there's this human factor that when you look at the human capital market, you have a brand new greenfield generation of developers, architects, and so on. But the real world for a company like Itaú is not a greenfield context, where you select the most up-to-date architecture tools and processes and build your digital. It's really a complex brownfield where you have to deal with most generation of legacy system and old technology. And that's why we combine that with lack of skills, because really there is a lack of skills on working in this brownfield environment. And as Ricardo said, at the end of the day, you need to combine legacy modernization, a lot of legacy modernization, with generating real business value. That is the puzzle.
Perfect. Ricardo, we have 1 minute. Final remark. What's the message that you pass on to everyone that's watching us here?
Customer. That's the key message in digital. Don't forget to understand what value you're trying to bring. What problem are you trying to solve? Ask yourself that all the time. That's what Lean tells you. Ask yourself what problem are you solving? Because it's very easy to get lost building a project or something huge that you don't know anymore why you're doing that. You're just following complex stuff and trying to solve problems. But by the end of the day, you're not adding value to anyone. So ask yourself all the time what you're doing to your customer.
Perfect. Go on.
I would add that we live in a world of abundance of ideas, but the scarcity of execution. So my word is execute.
Okay. Customer and execute. That sounds terrific. Thank you all very much. Mike, thanks for managing the things in the background. Back to you. Thank you all from the audience. Hope you have enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.